There's a woman out there. She wakes up in a quiet home. No footsteps down the hall, no partner beside her, just her. And that's not something she's ashamed of, that's her power. Society might whisper that something's missing, that she's incomplete, that a woman alone must be waiting for someone to arrive. But here's the truth. She's not waiting. She's choosing. She chooses her own rhythm, her own space, her own growth. She eats dinner with peace, not pressure. She sleeps without tension, not loneliness. Her life is not empty, it's intentional. People ask, don't you want someone? And she may, but she wants someone real, not someone just to avoid the silence. She wants partnership, not dependence, respect, not rescue. And until that shows up, she's doing just fine. More than fine. She's thriving. There's a strength in her that doesn't shout. It's quiet, grounded. It shows up in the way she locks her doors and trusts her own presence. It shows up in how she fixes her own problems, pays her own bills, and pours her own wine when she wants to celebrate. Living alone isn't about isolation. It's about clarity. It's knowing that your peace is worth protecting, even if it means walking through seasons solo. That's not sadness. That's self-respect. She doesn't live for validation. She lives for alignment. If love comes, it will meet her where she is, not pull her out of where she belongs. And if it doesn't come, she still wins, because her happiness isn't on layaway for someone else's arrival. So the next time someone wonders why she lives alone without a boyfriend, understand this. She's not alone because she can't find someone. She's alone because she found herself, and that's more than enough. Pestering Gales, thank you. A woman who lives alone without a boyfriend is not waiting. She's choosing. Choosing peace, growth, and clarity on her own terms. We often mistake solitude for sadness and independence for lack. But here's the truth. Her independence isn't born out of rejection. It's rooted in intention. She's not living alone because no one asked her to stay. She's living alone because she had the courage to walk away or to never settle in the first place. She doesn't need noise in her life to feel noticed. Her validation isn't outsourced, it's internal. While the world tells her that being single is a pause, she treats it like a practice of wholeness, accountability, healing, and clarity. She knows who she is when the room is quiet, and that's something many people never learn. There's something powerful about a woman who doesn't shrink in her own space. She makes her own coffee in the morning, not for anyone to witness, but because she deserves that kind of presence. She lights candles for dinner, even if no one else is coming over, not because she's pretending, but because she's honoring herself. That's not loneliness. That's love, directed inward. She doesn't need someone to complete her journey. She's the journey. Every choice she makes isn't about attracting someone, it's about aligning with herself. She doesn't just fill her time, she invests in it. Books, work, workouts, friendships, not to escape her life, but to enrich it. She knows love might come. And when it does, it won't be because she was desperate or dependent. It will be because she was already grounded and someone aligned with that strength. She's not building a life that needs to be rescued. She's building one that can be shared, but never owned. People often ask, don't you get lonely? Of course, loneliness visits everyone, but she doesn't let it move in. She knows how to sit with herself without judgment, how to cry, reflect, reset, and then rise. Her independence doesn't make her hard, it makes her whole. And wholeness is what she brings to the table, not just in relationships, but in every room she walks into. And here's the beautiful part. She doesn't reject the idea of love, she welcomes it, but only if it honors the life she's worked hard to create. She'd rather be alone in peace than partnered in pieces. Because independence isn't a detour from the path, it is the path. It's leadership over your own life, decisions made with clarity, and a home built not for appearances, but for authenticity. She's not missing something. She's not waiting for someone. She's not defined by a relationship status. She's living fully, freely, fiercely. And that is leadership, not loneliness. We live in a world that measures strength in pairs, as if being with someone is the final step in becoming whole. But some of the strongest people you'll ever meet are standing alone, not because they have no one, but because they know who they are. She doesn't lean on a relationship to feel secure. Her strength isn't dependent on someone else's presence, it's anchored in her own. Every morning she wakes up alone and still stands tall, not because life is perfect, but because she built a foundation no one else had the power to shake. She's walked through storms, she's faced nights where the silence was deafening and still found music in her soul. She's had moments where fear tried to creep in, where doubt whispered that she needed someone to make it all feel real. But she didn't fold. She sat with those thoughts, she breathed through them, and then she rose again. That's the kind of power that comes from within. It's not about never needing people, it's about not depending on the wrong ones just to feel safe. Her solitude isn't a placeholder, it's her sanctuary. It's where she reconnects to herself, finds clarity, sets her intentions, and builds a life that doesn't rely on someone else's timeline. She doesn't see being alone as a lack, she sees it as leadership. She's not afraid of being her own backup plan. She's not waiting for a partner to help her build a life. She's already built it. She pays her own bills. She handles her own stress. She celebrates her own wins. And when she falls, she doesn't fall apart. She recalibrates. That kind of self-sufficiency doesn't make her unloving. It makes her discerning. She knows that true partnership isn't about filling emotional gaps. It's about sharing wholeness. And until someone comes along who adds to her peace rather than disrupts it, she's okay exactly where she is. People may look at her and think she's missing something, but she knows what she's found: herself. And when you found that, your voice, your boundaries, your joy, your healing, you no longer seek love as survival, you seek it as expansion. So no, she doesn't need someone next to her to feel strong. Because her strength doesn't come from who's standing beside her, it comes from who's standing within her. She is not waiting to be rescued, she is already her own rescue. She is not broken, not half, not fragile. She is stable, rooted, ready, whole. And when love does arrive, it won't complete her. It'll simply be a beautiful addition to a life she already leads with strength. There's a stillness in her home that many misunderstand. No TV playing in the background just to fill the emptiness. No constant conversation just to prove she's connected. Instead, she moves through her space with calm, with clarity, not because she's lonely, but because she's grounded. The silence isn't a void, it's a choice. People often assume that quiet equals lack, that being alone means being unloved. But her life is rich, not in noise, but in meaning. She fills her days with what feeds her soul: creativity, career, health, service, reflection. She doesn't need someone talking in the next room to feel heard. She listens to herself. Her inner voice is loud and it's clear. That's how she leads her life. She's not disconnected from people. She's connected to the right people, the kind who respect her time, her boundaries, her journey. She's not out chasing friendships or relationships just to prove she belongs. She's built a community around shared values, not convenience. Every person in her life is there with intention. Not because she's afraid to be alone, but because she values connection that honors her peace. And her passions, they don't take up space, they create it. Her art, her work, her reading, her learning, these are not distractions, they're fuel. She doesn't wait to be inspired by someone else. She inspires herself. She wakes up with purpose and pours her energy into what matters. Her life is full, not with noise, but with depth. There are no background arguments, no forced compromises, no emotional tug of war. Instead, there's room for her thoughts to stretch, for her soul to rest, for her spirit to grow. The silence in her space is not emptiness, it's evidence of intention. Every corner of her home reflects her energy. Every routine reflects her rhythm. She's not performing for anyone, she's living for herself. People might ask, don't you ever get tired of the quiet? But they forget silence is only uncomfortable when you're uncomfortable with yourself. And she's not. She's at ease in her own company. She doesn't need to fill every moment with someone else's presence. Her own is enough. That's the kind of freedom that scares people, the kind that can't be controlled, categorized, or convinced to settle. She's not living a small life. She's living a spacious one. And when love or friendship comes her way, it will be required to complete her. It'll be welcomed only if it complements her already full life. Because she knows silence in her home doesn't mean silence in her life. It means clarity. It means maturity. It means she's chosen a life that speaks through peace, not volume. And that in itself says everything. From a young age, women are handed a script. It reads, be soft, be agreeable, be desirable. Then maybe, just maybe, someone will choose you, save you, and complete you. But she never bought into that story. She chose to write her own. She doesn't see her life as a waiting room. She's not sitting on the sidelines hoping for someone to show up and give it meaning. She is the meaning. Every goal she sets, every decision she makes, every morning she rises and shows up for herself, that's her saying, I'm already enough. She doesn't live with a constant need to be validated by a relationship. She doesn't need a partner to prove her worth, her beauty, or her value. That kind of security comes from within, and she's done the work to earn it. When society tries to define her by her relationship status, she doesn't argue, she detaches, because she knows that her fulfillment isn't tied to someone else's ability to love her. She's not waiting to be chosen. She already chose herself. She hears the questions, the whispers. Why is she still single? Is something wrong with her? What they don't see is the strength in her solitude, the discipline in her boundaries, the healing behind her choices. She's not single because she's hard to love. She's single because she won't settle for being loved halfway. She refuses to play the damsel. She's not in distress. She's not lost in the woods waiting for a prince. She built her own house in the forest. She planted her own garden, and she lit her own fire to keep herself warm. That's not weakness. That's self-reliance. Does she want love? Maybe. But only the kind that honors the life she's created. She wants presence, not possession. Partnership, not pressure. She's not chasing someone to save her from herself. She already faced herself and grew through what she had to heal. She understands that love is not a destination, it's a companion, not a compass. She's already on the path, steady, intentional, and aware. If someone joins her, they'll walk beside her, not pull her backward or lead her off course. She is not a fraction waiting to be completed. She is not a shadow longing for a light. She is a flame, burning with purpose, with wisdom, with peace. She doesn't need rescuing because she was never lost. She simply stepped off the beaten path and found her own way, and that makes her unstoppable. Let the world keep asking when her story begins. She knows it already did. The moment she stopped seeking completion in someone else and realized she was whole all along. She values connection, but not at the cost of peace. If love arrives, it will find her centered, not searching. There's a big difference between avoiding love and refusing to settle for anything less than real. She's not bitter, she's not guarded, she's not building walls, she's setting boundaries. Because she understands something many don't. Love without authenticity is just performance, and she has no interest in performing. She's not against love. In fact, she believes in its power, but not the kind of love that demands she shrink to fit into someone else's idea of worth, not the kind that makes her sacrifice her intuition for acceptance. She's not chasing butterflies. She's building balance. She's been through enough to know the difference between intensity and intention, between someone who shows up with fireworks and someone who shows up with consistency. She doesn't want love that's loud. She wants love that's honest. She's seen what happens when people rush into relationships just to avoid themselves. She's witnessed how easily peace can be traded for companionship. And she's made a quiet vow to herself, never again. Her solitude isn't empty, it's sacred, and she's not willing to lose it for anyone who doesn't respect its value. That's why she's not out there searching. She's not swiping endlessly, hoping to be seen. She's not auditioning for approval. She's living fully, authentically, freely. And if someone enters her life and aligns with that rhythm, not disturbs it, then she's open. But love must meet her where she stands, not drag her somewhere she doesn't belong. Her standards aren't high, they're healthy, and they're not built out of pride or fear. They're built from the lessons she's learned about what happens when we confuse attention for affection or possession for partnership. She doesn't need grand gestures, she needs grounded presence. She doesn't want promises of forever, she wants proof of today. Because anyone can speak in poetry, but very few live with integrity. And she's only interested in the latter. Her love isn't transactional, it's transformational, but only for those willing to show up as their real selves. The mask doesn't impress her. The curated personality doesn't last long. If someone wants access to her world, they have to bring truth, not a script. So no, she's not anti-love. She's just unwilling to bend herself out of shape to fit inside someone else's version of it. And when love does arrive, if it's honest, if it's respectful, if it's real, it will not find her desperate or depleted. It will find her centered, fulfilled, and at peace, because she didn't wait for love to complete her. She built a life that didn't depend on it. And that's exactly why the love she receives will never cost her who she is. Living alone isn't a weakness. It's a lifestyle rooted in courage. She's proof you can be fulfilled solo. We're often told that to live a full life, we must share it with someone else. That to come home to silence is a sign of something missing. But for her, solitude isn't the absence of something, it's the presence of everything that matters: clarity, peace, and self-respect. She didn't choose this path because it was easy. She chose it because it was true. Living alone takes courage, not just to face the world, but to face yourself. In that space of stillness where no one else's voice fills the room, she hears her own, and she listens to it. That's power most people never experience. Her days are not defined by who checks in or who shows up. They're defined by intention. Every choice she makes, from what she cooks for dinner to how she spends her Saturday mornings, is a reflection of her own rhythm. She is not waiting for life to begin once someone joins her. It has already begun, and it's beautiful. She doesn't view her lifestyle as a placeholder until love arrives. It's not just for now. It's not plan B. It's the plan. And if love fits into it, that's a bonus, not a requirement. She's not building a life around the absence of someone. She's building one around the presence of herself. She's learned that fulfillment isn't a location, it's a decision. It's how you show up for yourself, especially when no one else is around. She finds joy in the smallest details: the sound of her own laughter echoing through the room, the books stacked on her nightstand, the quiet strength in knowing that everything in her space was earned, chosen, and valued. And it's not that she's against partnership. She simply knows her life is not on pause. She refuses to live in a state of someday. She lives in right now, and she does it fully. People may assume that living alone means something is lacking. What they don't realize is that it often means so much has been gained: freedom, autonomy, boundaries, growth. She's not defined by who texts her good morning. She's defined by the peace she protects and the standards she upholds. She has become her own sanctuary. Her solitude isn't a cage, it's a wide open sky where she flies without asking for permission. She's not lonely. She's aligned. She's not fragile. She's focused. She's not waiting. She's living. So no, her solitude isn't emptiness. It's not something to be pitied or fixed. It's empowerment, bold, brave, and deeply fulfilling. She is proof that living solo isn't just possible, it can be powerful, and she carries that truth with grace every single day. This is not a story of loneliness, it's a story of liberation. A woman who lives alone without a boyfriend is not lacking love, connection, or value. She is not broken, waiting, or incomplete. She is whole because she chose to lead her life, not wait for someone to give it direction. Her solitude isn't silence, it's strength. It's in the way she shows up for herself, honors her standards, protects her peace, and lives with purpose. She doesn't need someone beside her to feel strong, because the power within her is already enough. She doesn't fear love. She just refuses to trade authenticity for it. She welcomes it only when it arrives with truth, with respect, and with alignment. Until then, she is not paused. She is thriving, fully, freely, fiercely. She is proof that independence is not a punishment, it is a privilege, and fulfillment doesn't come from who walks in the door, it comes from who you become when you choose yourself. So to every woman walking this path, unapologetically, courageously, and alone, know this: you are not waiting, you are not behind, you are not missing anything, you are already everything. Thank you.